Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I will be making a veteran's cup and talking about murder mystery stories. The first story I'm going to talk about has to do with Lizzie Borden. You may or may not know about her, but she's pretty well known and very easy to find if you look her up. And I do suggest that you do look up this story because its details in the trial and everything just end up going really crazy. So Lizzie Borden was born on July 19th, 1860. And she is from Falls River, Massachusetts. She had a sister named Emma, and both of them were very religious. They were involved very much in the church. Lizzie herself taught Sunday school and helped raise funds and do fundraisers and things like that, but both of them were known about town for being very religious. Their father's name was Andrew Jackson Borden. He was a businessman, and he first started making his money by manufacturing and selling furniture and caskets, which let's just think about that for a second. He did have other types of business. He had and owned property, he rented real estate, things like that. And he was known for being a very frugal man. He was very stingy and very much a Scrooge when it came to his money, to the point that his house didn't have indoor plumbing or electricity, which at that time was kind of a basic. And he lived in the poorer part of town. His income should have had him living in the wealthy part, but he chose houses and property in the lower part just to save money. They did have a live-in maid though, and her name was Bridget Sullivan, but they called her Maggie. She was 25 years old and an immigrant from Ireland. Just 3 years after the girl's mother died, their father remarried to a woman named Abby. Now, according to what the maid Sullivan said, the girls did not get along at all with their stepmother. They would call her Mrs. Borden instead of calling her by her name or even mom or anything like that. And Mrs. Borden would not allow them to eat dinner with them. They had to eat separate. So things like this also bring up the whole point, like, was there animosity between them? Was there a hatred? Of course, all of this is speculation and none of it is confirmed. Please remember that. So a little bit after her father remarried, he started giving away property and dealing into some weird type of financial issues. Now, the property that he was giving away, of course, had to belong to their stepmother, Abby, and to her family. Her sister received a house. I believe some were given to her parents as well. All this was said to not sit well with the grown daughters that he had. The night before the murders, their uncle on their mother's side came and visited and talked financial issues with their father. What exactly was said is not 100% known. It's all speculation and rumors, but it did have to do with the fact that her father was giving away property and things that he should not have been doing. On August 4th, 1982, the day of the murders, their uncle left early in the morning, around 8:48, to go buy some oxen and visit another niece. Their father took a walk around 9 a.m. Abby went upstairs to go make up the guest bedroom, which is odd because that was usually something that the girls had to do themselves, but today Abby did it instead. It was there that she was murdered. According to the forensics, they said that she was facing her killer and looking at them when she was struck by a hatchet on the side of her head, right above her ear. The cut caused her to fall face first onto the floor, where she got bruises and cuts on her nose and on her forehead. Afterwards, the killer continued to hit her up to 17 or 18 times on the back of her head, which of course led to her death. Now, I'm not a specialist in forensics or anything like that, but hitting a person 17 times on the head does lead me to believe that the fact that this was also a crime of passion and of hatred, that they must have really hated this woman to do this. So Andrew Borden returned home around 10:30. This is where the story gets really complicated and very twisted because, according to Lizzie, she was outside, but the maid said that she heard Lizzie upstairs laughing. So this is where the story gets a little muddled and complicated. The door did get jammed, so the maid had to go and open the door for him, and that's when she said she heard Lizzie laughing upstairs. Lizzie swears that she was not upstairs and had not been upstairs since her father left the house. The reason that this is important is because, according to where the bedroom is that her stepmother was dead, if you had just climbed the first few steps, you would be able to see her dead body. After Mr. Borden was allowed to be into the house, he said he wasn't feeling very well and was very tired, so he went to go take a nap on the couch. The maid said that he had told her about a sale that was going on in town and said that she was free to go if she wanted to. She ended up not going because she said herself that she did not feel very well, so she went up to her room. Asleep on the couch is where Mr. Borden was murdered. He was struck 10 or 11 times directly in the head with a hatchet. They said that his eyeball was cut completely in half, which led them to believe that he was asleep when he had died. At about 11:10, Sullivan said that she heard Lizzie screaming, saying, "Maggie, Maggie, come quick, father's dead. Somebody came into the house and killed him." Being that Lizzie found him and that she was somewhere in the house when he died, she was one of the first suspects in this murder of her stepfather and her stepmother. The thing that makes this a very mysterious murder is the fact that there's so many contradicting things about it. The police investigation was very shoddy, and the witnesses were always contradicting themselves and what they were saying. One example of this alone was the fact that the maid had said that she helped Mr. Borden lay down on the couch because he was feeling ill. She removed his boots and then went upstairs to go lay down herself. But in the pictures that are taken of the scene, his boots are clearly still on. Lizzie told the cops herself that at first she went into the house because she heard kind of a crying out or a moaning. Then the next day she changed it and said that she went into the house because she was looking for something and that she didn't know that anything was wrong at first because she didn't suspect anything, and she was in the house for a little bit before she found her father's body lying on the couch. While interviewing Lizzie Borden, the police asked her where her stepmother was, and she said that she had received a letter from her friend saying that she was sick, so she had left to go visit her sick friend, all the while her dead body lying upstairs. So then she turns to a friend and to one of the police officers and says, "You know what, can you go upstairs and check and see if she has come home yet?" And when they did, a few steps up, they see the dead body lying there and realize that both the stepmother and the father had been murdered. The police officers are said to put on record that they did not trust her and that they didn't like the attitude that she had, that she was way too calm and collected to have just found her dead father lying on the couch. Even with all this, they took very little evidence. They went up to her room to go investigate and go look around, but they only did a quick sweep and didn't find anything suspicious. They did go down to the basement and they found 2 hatchets that were complete and then 2 hatchets that were broken apart. The head had fallen off. It is believed that the ones that were broken were the ones that were used as the murder weapons that day. That night, their friends stayed with them in the house, and the police stayed outside. They said that they saw Lizzie Borden and her friend going down into the basement and that they had a can of maybe kerosene or some type of fluid with them, and that when they came back up, that they went their separate ways and only Lizzie returned into the house. The next day is when the police actually decided that Lizzie Borden could be a serious suspect. So they went into her house with a warrant and they searched the room and they took everything. They took the hatchets that they had left the night before. And they told her that she was the main suspect in the murder of her father and stepmother. Later on that day, her friend went over and saw Lizzie above the sink and she was ripping and destroying articles of clothing. When her friend asked her what she was doing, she said that she had gotten some red paint on it and it needed to be destroyed. Whether that was paint or blood, of course, that's all speculation, and we will never truly know what that was. Lizzie Borden was arrested for the murders, and her trial is where everything went completely crazy. A lot of times, it was all speculations and gossips and rumors. Even at one point, they said that Lizzie Borden, a few days before, had gone to the drugstore and tried to purchase a type of poison, and the judge said, "You know what, we're going to throw that out because it's not relevant to the murder case that had happened." During the autopsy of her father and stepmother, the heads were removed from the bodies and they were brought to the courtroom where supposedly Lizzie Borden fainted out of shock at seeing the heads there. I mean, honestly, who wouldn't? But still, it could have been an act. The trial ended with Lizzie Borden being acquitted, found innocent of both her father and her stepmother's murder. The main reason a lot of people stated that she was acquitted was that they didn't believe it was possible for a woman to commit such a heinous murder in the first place. Which I think we should just stop for a second and think about the time that it was, because being a girl myself, I know what women are capable of, and yeah, she could have done it. Whether she did or didn't, I don't know, but she could have. Because it was found that her stepmother was murdered first, her father ended up inheriting everything that her stepmother had owned. And therefore, after his death, the 2 girls ended up owning everything that her father had. So after the deaths, the girls ended up being very wealthy women. They moved out of that house, of course, and found a really rich, expensive house on the upper side of town. And it says that there, they could not escape the rumors and the lies and all the gossip. Lizzie Borden ended up changing her name to Lisbeth, I don't see how much difference that makes, but that's what she changed it to. And the rumors of her father's death just followed her for the rest of her life. It was said that she killed her parents because there had been physical and sexual abuse, though there is no evidence stating that she was abused or that there was any incest going on, but these are rumors, of course. There was also a rumor that she was involved in a lesbian affair with the maid and was caught and therefore murdered both of her parents. Lizzie Borden died on June 1st, 1920, and her sister died 9 days after. The house that her father and stepmother had died in was sold, and it is now a museum and a bed and breakfast. So go figure the world, right? This story was all over the news at the time. It was what everybody was talking about, to the point that even little girls would do jump rope and sing songs about it. They would say, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. They would continue the second verse with, Andrew Borden now is dead. Lizzie hit him on the head. Up in heaven he will sing. On the gallows she will swing. And they say kids nowadays are morbid, right? Now, the song itself was a bit of an exaggeration. Her mom had 19 hits and her dad only 11. I mean, I say only, but 11 is a terrible amount still. So, all in all, she was acquitted, and the true killers were never found or brought to justice for what happened. It could have been anyone, to be honest. It could have been Lizzie, it could have been her sister, could have been the maid, could have been, the uncle that showed up and then just we didn't hear anything about him afterwards. Who really knows what happened? That's why a lot of these murder mysteries end up being mysteries, and they're so intriguing because of the fact that we don't really know. Well, thank you guys for joining me so much. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget to ring the bell so that you can be notified when I have another cup and another story. Thank you.